Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. So recently, a CEO of a major grocery chain in the United States, I think it was Kroger, he expressed the opinion that consumers should expect a 10% increase in grocery prices before the end of this year. And this is going to be on top of the food inflation we have already seen since last year. Throughout this year, we have seen a mega drought in western states, resulting in severe reduction in crops produced in those states. This has also caused a reduction of meat production, as animals must be fed until they can be slaughtered for market. Now, we are expecting an early cold front this weekend, starting tonight here and probably already hit further up north. And that cold front is likely to be harsh enough to destroy crops still in the fields in many parts of the country. I do hope that everyone reading or watching this will be safe this winter. The Labor Department reports that 4.4 million Americans quit their jobs in September, surpassing even the 4.3 million who quit in August. Some of these workers went on to find better jobs. However, the number of job openings has remained statistically constant. This is happening at a time of year when employment typically increases dramatically. The narrative being promoted is that all of this has to do with the vaccine mandate, yet some workers are willing to take other jobs, most or all of which include the same mandate. So the mandate narrative makes no sense. If you have personally quit a job because of the vaccine mandate, leave a comment for me. Capitalist corporate media will announce that wages are increasing. What they do not report as clearly is that inflation is already increasing at a much faster pace than wages. Meaning, even if you received a 5% wage increase, you are already behind because inflation has now exceeded 6%, according to the core CPI, Consumer Price Index, which conveniently omits data from food, energy, fuel, and housing. Yet we have not even entered the winter months yet, and energy experts report an expected increase in utility bills, which may well go beyond 50% over last winter. And prices never returned to baseline after last winter. So, aside from food and fuel, we're told prices are increasing because of product shortages. However, at this moment, there are over 110 container ships off the coast of the U.S., the west coast of the U.S., waiting to be offloaded. That's just the west coast. That is also after some ships have been diverted to the east coast. Imagine being a sailor on a vessel which was diverted and have to sail all the way around South America to unload your ship. Meanwhile, Long Beach, California now has over 900,000 containers sitting at port waiting to be transported one direction or another. I have also previously mentioned warehouses being at over 95% capacity. What all of this means is that shortages of consumer goods is capitalist propaganda. Just a minute. Dang it. So, to make things even worse, for the future at least, many retailers have been ordering excess products because they expect long wait times for delivery. That will eventually cause a glut in the system, as retailers must accept delivery of the excess products they ordered. If they do not sell that merchandise, even at a reduced price, it will be a complete loss, which will mean that retailers will have to decrease, so they will have to reduce their prices on that excess in the future. Will they consider it a balance if they make extra profits now and lower profits later? Not a chance. They will lay more workers off to save labor costs. The lower prices may benefit more privileged consumers, but if you are one of the millions that get laid off, not so much. This all runs back to the downward spiral I've mentioned several times in the past. Corporations still make a profit, but that profit declines. In spite of continued profitability, the corporation lays off workers to increase profits. This is replicated numerous times by numerous corporations. Fewer workers means less consumer spending. We already have that, with consumer confidence declining. Less consumer spending means even less profit, which leads to more layoffs, which leads to less consumer spending, which leads to more layoffs, and so on. Corporations are already at a critical mass where they cannot realistically currently lay off more workers and still remain in business. If fossil fuels decline in I did that again. Excuse me. That's for another article, and I need to remove this from here. All right. Sorry. Capitalist media currently report that consumer spending is up, but they do not mention several other things, like consumer confidence being down. They also don't mention that while spending is up, that does not mean more consumer goods are being sold. The truth is the opposite. Consumers are spending more and getting less for what they spend. Look at your grocery bill and how much you spend on utilities and transportation. The end result of all of this is what is leading to workers quitting their jobs. This has far more to do with workers quitting than the vaccine mandate does. As workers see inflation rising faster than their wages, they recognize their quality of life declining. They have already watched their quality of life declining because of inflation, reduced hours, and reduced benefits for decades. This has led to millions working multiple jobs to maintain a basic quality of life, which increasingly eludes them. So at this point in time, what workers are doing is rejecting their own exploitation by capitalism. They have learned in the past couple of years to survive on less, and then learned they enjoy their lives more when they are not chasing some consumerist-defined, materialistic ideal. If they must live with less, they will accept that, but they are now insisting on a higher quality of life in return. More time with family, or to read, or to play computer games, or whatever. Many workers have found they may spend more on food and utilities, but they do not need to chase their tails, paying for childcare, transportation, car insurance, buying fast food, special clothing for work, and so forth, all to be met with hostile, hyper-privileged Karens and abusive, slave-driving owners while having no security to their current income or retirement benefits. Make no mistake that capitalists are frantically seeking workers for the precise purpose of decreasing wages and benefits, which they are now being forced to pay for. If more workers return to the grind, capitalists feel they will be able to again reduce all benefits being paid to and for workers. Capitalists and the capitalist media need to recognize the fact that the workforce has shrunken permanently. This is not a temporary situation. If wages and benefits increase to surpass inflation, some larger than current percentage of workers will return to work, but not anywhere near the numbers we previously had. The consumer economy is also not going to recover to where it was. Workers may spend money on luxury items like large TVs or decent vehicles, but those are going to be items which last for many years. In fact, consumers are fighting back against intentional planned obsolescence, as shown by the right to repair movement. What we can expect is for workers to be spending more money to pay down debt as quickly as possible, which will reduce banking profits from consumer credit. Once their debts are paid off, workers will be placing more money in savings or buying hard assets such as real estate or precious metals. People have become rightfully distrusting of capitalist employers and the value of the dollar, which is also leading to cryptocurrency increasing in value rapidly. It's actually hilarious listening to libertarians still proposing the idea of eliminating the minimum wage. Well, libertarians are hilarious on just about everything, so there's no point in pursuing that concept further. All right, the simple fact is that workers and consumers have finally awakened and have no confidence remaining in the capitalist system, which exploits them until they have no remaining health or wealth to perpetuate the current system. That confidence is not going to return in the next decade, 2 decades, or 4 decades. It will take entire generations. If you're older, you will recall the elderly of your own younger years recounting tales of surviving the Great Depression and rationing during World War II. Those things had a lasting impact, which remained for the rest of their lives. The materialistic consumer economy took hold as the memories of those experiences faded, and the people who lived through them died off, leaving their assets to younger generations that believed that such events could not happen again in this country. Yet, right this minute, we are headed full speed into conditions which will most likely be far worse. Rationing by the government will not be necessary because economics and the supply chain will impose far more drastic rationing than was present back then. If anyone still has faith in the system we have been living under up to now, that faith is only because you know nothing else and cannot conceive anything else, which is a result of indoctrination and lack of awareness. It is a sign of privilege, which many others shared until rather recently. Many of them have now come to full understanding, and it's only a matter of time before the absolute majority of those currently privileged will come to the same understanding against their will. I doubt that we will experience an actual famine in this country in the near future. However, as more affordable food supplies become exhausted and what remains becomes far less affordable, we will see a dramatic increase in malnutrition, the likes of which we have not seen in our lifetimes in this country. Couple that with increased cost of housing, heating, and transportation, taking more money away from food and medication, And we are going to see sickness also increasing, but not reported by corporate media. It's already happening right now. This will eventually result in an actual revolution coming about in this country, a class struggle. We can hope for that revolution to be peaceful, but I would not really count on it remaining so. Malnutrition, illness, and homelessness are not peaceful. I've tried explaining this when discussing other topics like economic sanctions on other countries, but many have not grasped the concept of poverty being a form of violence. I expect many to realize these things as violence and take up actions which return violence with violence on a large scale. Considering that our government supports not human beings, but their capitalist owners, mass violence in the near future has become ever more likely. This also makes a populist overthrow of our government at some degree more likely. Some neoliberals warn that such overthrow would result in a right-wing authoritarian regime assuming power. Yet that makes absolutely no sense at all. That is neoliberal propaganda, trying to scare you from taking part in a revolution. We're already so far to the right that moving any further right would be next to impossible at this point. The majority of Americans are supportive of extremely leftist policies like universal health care, increased wages, and subsidized housing. All of that leads to the conclusion that the result of a revolution would be a far more socialist structure replacing the supremacy of the oligarchy. Millions of Americans quitting and others demanding higher wages and better living conditions and better benefits are more indicators that while our government and corporate structure continues moving to the right, Americans are moving far to the left. The move to the right has been clearly demonstrated by the ending of unemployment benefits, censorship, and the vaccine mandate. The only thing which will prevent a forceful uprising at this point will be the surrender to leftist, humane policies by our government, media, and business, which is not going to happen. So they have made a choice. The left has been peaceful for many decades in this country, aside from relatively few protests on specific issues, and even those did not involve actual violence. Property damage is not violence. Property does not hunger, suffer illness or injury, and does not die. People do. Property does not fight back against oppression and injustice. People do. And that's about where we are. All right, so share this video. Talk about these subjects. If you can, please donate $1 a month to help expand the channel, and I will catch you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.